So welcome to the Secure Dynamics TechCast. With me, I have two former guests. I have Helen Patton, who is the CISO at Ohio State University. Welcome back, Helen.
Nice to be here. Thanks.
And I have a longtime guest of mine as well, which is Lamont Orange, the CISO at Netscope.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be back and be back with old friends.
Good to be back too. Yeah, it's 2 weeks more to go for 2020 to end, and let's see where that leads us.
Right. Where did the time go?
I know. So talking about something that is the best practices of security hygiene says, hey, you need to patch ASAP. You got to make sure that you have a good inventory of your systems, zero-day vulnerabilities, patches recommended by vendors, and so on and so forth, right? Now, given the proliferation of whether it's IoT devices, whether people working from home, etc., is it even feasible to keep up with these patches? Number one. Number two are there mechanisms in place that you have seen, either you've done it yourself or you've seen the colleagues of yours do it, which is really how do you ensure what patch is being pushed by the vendors actually up to snuff, right? I mean, is there a sense of hygiene? Is there a sense of protection that needs to go in place even before you update? So why don't we start with you, Helen?
From a university perspective, which has a lot of technical debt and a lot of IoT, SCADA, ICS kinds of stuff, it is really difficult to keep up with. It's difficult to keep up with for a couple of reasons. One is a lot of the equipment that we have doesn't lend itself to automated patching really well. So the volumes of patches that we have coming through can't just be automatically pushed out, and without automation, it's really hard to keep up with volume. So volume is a part of it. The other thing we deal with at the university is a lot of stuff you can't patch without voiding the manufacturer's warranty. So, if I'm sitting on $1 million MRI machine, I actually can't patch it without it not being in scope for FDA approval anymore. Like there's sort of counterproductive regulations that go around it that make it difficult to patch. So across the board, you can't. Now, when it comes to normal sort of what I would call administrative machines, easier to keep up with, much easier to automate. But to the question of, can you validate that the patches that your suppliers are pushing through to you are good? Much harder to do. I think, you're going to make a risk-based judgment on the vendors that you're dealing with. And more often than not, the automation and efficiency overrides any risk concerns that you have about it. But the fallout, you've got to be ready for.
Lamont, your thoughts?
So I think I share a lot of Helen's remarks and beliefs with this. I would say one piece of it is patch management has been something that, IT and security leaders have had challenges with probably since the beginning of time for a variety of reasons, right? Systems that you can't touch for whatever reason, inability to test them. And I think this is, again, one of those opportunities where you look to figure out how you can get in a better position for patch management. And quite frankly, some of that may be the cloud, just because of how nimble and flexible the systems are and the applications that you're designing are when they're built in the cloud. It gives us an opportunity to do better. Now, there's still some of those regulatory obligations that Helen spoke to that makes it a little bit more challenging and counterintuitive to get those patched. But if you can move the needle from what I'll say very difficult to slightly difficult, then that's pretty much a win, and we'll all get better security around it. And the other thing that you have to look at too is some of the compensation and compensating controls that you can put in place, because that these environments are, let's say, as hard as they can be, but you may have to harden your outer shell a little bit, as they call it, the M&M architecture. You might have to harden your outer shell a little bit more and know that the center is just as hard as it can be. That's just what it is. And then you look for some of those abilities to notify and threaten, all those different things, more the defense in depth concept. But the goal is to try to get as modern as possible. And with that, you gain some efficiencies. And as far as the vendor patches and understanding if there is if they are valid, I think everything's always in the realm of possibility, but are the capabilities there to do something like that? You know, we were trained many years ago to live by patch, right? And know that there's some variability of something that would be, say, just more of something to fix, but not something to deter you or derail the operation of the system or impair the operation of the system. And I think there's a lot of trust when you build these partnerships with your service providers. And you have to keep that in mind, that they have good practices, they know what they're doing. And then you have a step where you can verify on your side. And again, it's difficult to do. This is not a trivial task. So I think it's a lot of trust and a lot of partnership.
Yeah, so Helen, picking up from where Lamont mentioned, he mentioned cloud, and I was thinking, like in the panel cast that you were part of, I think a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about education in general, right? And clearly in a university like yours, it's, I mean, the students have control over what they bring and what laptop they choose or tablet and so on and so forth. But Google Chrome, for better or for worse, I mean, driven by cloud and giving at least the K-12 education overnight, being able to give them something they don't worry about licenses, don't have to worry about patches. Do you see that as probably something that could be adopted for other things like IoT? I know there's low code, no code. I mean, how do you reduce the footprint of actually what's running so that it can be controlled remotely and you can actually scale it out?
So first of all, I have no comment on Google Cloud because we're not a Google Cloud, a Chrome user at Ohio State. It's very much a K through 12 kind of solution, right? It's been interesting with COVID, actually. One of the things that universities in particular sort of struggled with was how do you virtualize lab environments that for a whole bunch of reasons have been on-prem kind of environments. Particularly research labs. Like, we're not just talking computer labs with students who are running Kali Linux or whatever, but how do you virtualize those microscopes, whatever? It's definitely pushing us much more towards a virtualized desktop kind of cloud-based environment in order to be able to scale at distance for our students who can't come to campus anymore. So I actually think you'll see virtual environments much more ubiquitously across higher ed, which I know is old school for a lot of private sector, but is not old school for higher ed. You know, keeping in mind, we're 21st century institutions and we still dress up in, you know, Harry Potter robes and walk across the stage and give one another lambskins twice a year, right? So we still have some very old traditions, and in technology, COVID's actually pushed us into some interesting spaces. So I think rather than thinking about students bringing whatever they bring to campus, I think it won't matter. I think we'll just be in a cloud-based virtual environment, and we'll containerize the endpoint. And that's how we will manage the zero trust pieces of it, the edge case pieces of it. That's how it will work. Now, hard to virtually slice up a cadaver, but we're working on that too, right? So we'll get there.
Well, that'll be state of the art when you get that.
Well, and fair, actually, in the medical side, they're already doing a lot of computer-based labs anyway. So, yeah, crazy world we're living in, that's for sure.
Yeah, so that's the same segue I had. I mean, a good segue into my follow-up with Lamont, which is extending that to the healthcare sector, right? And again, same thing. I mean, it's remote everything, right? It's like, and also the extension now with the first GDPR fine being levied by Ireland, right? Was it yesterday or the day before, right? So this whole thing about data privacy also is a huge thing as you extend into these verticals. So Lamont, I know Netskope is a big player into the healthcare sector. What other verticals are you seeing that are actually understanding that cloud is probably the only path forward for them if they have to both stay compliant as well as give the end user, the customers, a positive experience?
So I think, in all fairness, I think all verticals and industries have realized that, and it's just it's a level of what does your journey looks like. You know, that's where it comes back to. There are some fast movers that are really ready, and again going back to this nimble and flexibility, that are moving as fast as they can to the cloud for a variety of reasons. You know, it may be to get rid of some of their physical infrastructure and move to something that's more flexible. Again, COVID, a very much a catalyst for something that many organizations plan to do, 24, 36 months from now, when it comes to looking at their footprint and how their applications are built and all those types of things. And they were going to get there as much of as an iterative approach, but they took it as opportunity as well. It's no better time than the present now to get there. And that requires looking at your different tools and looking at how you are protecting data and looking at a totally different threat landscape. So I think every organization has realized that they have opportunity in the cloud to if nothing else, re-examine their business, reimagine it, re-innovate it, and get to a point where it costs less to deliver those services. And deliver them differently allows you to scale too. So you can change and pivot very fast instead of, how we started the conversation talking about the old architectures and things of that nature that doesn't allow us to move very, very quickly. And even from the standpoint, we can't touch them.
Cool. Very good. Again, thanks for your time. Looking forward to future conversations, and stay safe.